Are you serious? Are you serious? Good morning, everyone. What? Welcome to the Coming Apocalypse. I'm Pastor Paul Begley. I'm going live right now this morning. We do have some very important information that has just happened. I want to make sure we don't have an open window somewhere. Give me one moment.
Some very important.
Oh, yes, we did. I stopped it. Anyway, we want to tell everybody, welcome, everyone. This is Coming Apocalypse. I'm Pastor Paul Begley, and we're so glad you're with me this morning. I'm here in the not too bad, 40 degrees. What is it, about 39 degrees here in Indiana. We could deal with it. There's no snow. The sun is shining. Are you serious? But we got some serious situations happening out here around the world. But first, I want to put a shout out, if you guys don't mind, real quick, for www.agewithpaul.com. Where did it go? www.agewithpaul.com. You see, ancient civilizations have long since discovered how to help combat aging. We just haven't been really paying attention to it because one of their secrets is called turmeric. Today, turmeric is one of the best spices we know to help support anti-aging. This is the exact reason I love agewithpaul.com by BioTrust, okay? agewithpaul.com. Within what seems like no time, I feel and look younger. My skin appears shockingly smoother. I got more elasticity. Is that a word? And I feel more youthful. No more pains in the joints. I'm ready to roll. Are you serious? Let's get ready to rumble. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not supposed to use that line because there's copyright. I think he's got trademarks. Sorry, Michael Buffett. Anyway, they've sold over 2 million of these bottles. It's incredible because people are feeling better. Okay, so do this. Go to www.agewithpaul.com. That's www.agewithpaul.com. We can age together. Come together right now over me. Okay, wait, stop it. We got serious things to talk about, okay? Very serious things to talk about. My title has an error. It does? Oh, no. I have an error in the title. What did I do? What did I do? What did I say? Should I fix that? Should I fix it now or should I fix it later? All right. Okay, I'll fix it later, whatever it is. Anyway, don't forget tonight, 8:30 tonight. We're double header. We got L.A. Marzulli and Mike from around the world. We're going to be, L.A. wants to talk about aliens. He has new information. He wants to talk about aliens. So we're going to talk about aliens with L.A. Marzulli. And then we're going to have Mike from around the world. And we're going to be talking about some very important things that he brought up last week that he said he wanted to discuss today. So tonight. So don't miss it. It's going to be powerful. 8:30 tonight. We're starting an hour early, 8:30 Eastern, with L.A. Marzulli and Mike from around the world. Okay. Right. When I say aliens, you know how I believe that aliens are actually demonic spirits. And that's what L.A. Marzulli believes also. But L.A. believes that we should broaden your horizons of where all these may be and how they may manifest. And so let's hear what else he has. Let's see what else he has to say. He's great. L.A. Marzulli. He's the guy he brought us the realization of what the giants were, the Nephilims, along with Steve Quayle. So, let's wait and see what happens tonight. All right. We've got some big, serious problems here with Russia. And so let's talk about this Vladimir Putin, because he says, of course, that the ball is now in the USA and NATO's court to avoid an invasion. This is some pretty big, harsh words that he's putting out there. Also, Putin says Russia doesn't want war with Ukraine, but urges the West to meet his demands quickly. So these things are very, very disturbing. Let me tell you what we're finding out about it right now. Putin says Russia doesn't want war with Ukraine, but he urges the West to meet his demands quickly. The Russian leader held his annual news conference amid soaring tensions with the United States over growing concerns about Moscow's troop buildup on its border with Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin sought to turn the tables on the West at his annual end-of-the-year news conference. He did it today, this morning, blaming the United States and its allies for soaring tensions over Ukraine and suggesting the ball is in their court to respond to Moscow's demands. I found that very interesting that he feels that way, but that is what he said, okay? Now, the Russian leader said it was up to the United States and NATO to swiftly provide the security guarantees Moscow demanded last week, though he insisted it doesn't want a fresh armed conflict. The ball is in their court, Putin told more than 500 Russian and foreign reporters in attendance at a marathon event. They need to respond to us with something, he said. Russia has massed up some over 100,000 troops along the Ukrainian border, prompting fears of an invasion as early as next month, but has repeatedly denied that it has any plans to attack its neighbor. Putin sounded optimistic about the response to the security demands issued by the Kremlin last week, which called for NATO to halt its eastward expansion, as well as for legally binding security guarantees that certain offensive weapons will not be deployed to Russia's neighboring countries. The Russian leader said Washington appeared ready to begin negotiations around its proposals early next year in Geneva, though it is unlikely the United States and its allies will give these guarantees that he wants. Moscow wants unconditional guarantees of its security now and in the future, and won't accept the expansion of NATO eastward to include Ukraine, he said. Offering an aggressively Russian view of history to back up these security concerns, Putin said Ukraine was created by Vladimir Lenin, the founder of the Soviet Union. He also accused NATO of having fooled Russia with 5 waves of expansion, not 5 waves of energy, but 5 waves of expansion since the Cold War, and scorned at the U.S. for inching closer to Russia's doorstep, adding that it sometimes seems Moscow and the West live in different worlds. You are demanding guarantees for me, Putin said. You should be giving guarantees, and immediately now. Now, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said earlier this week that Washington was working with European leaders to address what he called Russian aggression with diplomacy, but said President Joe Biden opposes the kind of guarantees that are being sought by Putin. So you see what's happening here. Putin is saying, look, I want some guarantees that you are going to stop advancing toward us. And if you give us that, I'll guarantee basically not to invade Ukraine. But if you don't give that to me, all bets are off. Although I'm not wanting to invade Ukraine. So you see what he's doing. He's putting the onus back on the West, on NATO, on the United States, and making it our problem. He's the guy that built up 100,000 troops on the Ukrainian border. He's the guy that did a hostile move and annexed Crimea. He's the guy that has sent in the little green men over the last 7 years fighting and creating the turmoil in eastern Ukraine. He is the guy threatening to shut off the pipelines of oil and fuel to Europe. So let's slow down a minute here. We wouldn't even have a crisis if he doesn't make these aggressive moves. I have to say that. Now, I'm not going to say that the West has been lily white, like a wind-driven snow in December. Sure, our imperialistic mentality is absolutely on display, but it wasn't on display until after World War II. After World War II, we realized the world was not a safe place. Everywhere we fought, we left a base, whether it was in Germany, several bases, Japan, several bases, whether it was in Italy, North Africa, the Middle East, wherever we've had to go to bring peace into the world and stop conflict, we've left a footprint there. And we've done it because it's the best way and to have that type of deterrent from having war. So could that be also perceived as imperialistic, aggressive behavior or expansionism? It could be seen that way. I can see how Russia could see it that way. But it has never been America's goal. And America, even when it conquers an area, always gives the land back, never takes it and then acquires it and says it's ours. So I think it's fair to look at both sides of the story here. Well, anyway, Biden warned Putin it is in a virtual call earlier this month that Russia will face severe consequences if it attacks Ukraine. Now, Russia annexed Ukraine, Crimea's peninsula, in 2014, drawing condemnation and sanctions from the West. Shortly after, Moscow backed a separatist rebellion in the country's east. While fighting was killed over 14,000 people and devastated Ukraine's industrial heartland. Really, I mean, Russia has to own responsibility for this because they really did this. They were the aggressors. Remember, they were the aggressors that went in and took Crimea from Ukraine and then have been fighting and supporting the fighting in eastern Ukraine. A Ukrainian soldier on the front line in the country's east, where Russia has backed a separatist rebellion through 7 years of fighting, said this. Putin has held the marathon event when he answers questions on a range of subjects every year since he became president in 2001, which is 20 years now. So basically, he's been running that country either from a president or prime minister position for 20 years. And since 2004, each news conference has been at least 3 hours long, with the longest coming last year, 4.5 hours long. This year's event comes amid growing concerns about the military buildup, but also as the Kremlin faces internal challenges in the shape of surging COVID numbers, economic recovery, crackdown on dissidents that has drawn international criticism. The annual news conference is a pillar of Putin's domestic image building and something of a fixture in the holiday season in Russia, designed to portray the 69-year-old president as a transparent and caring leader. Now, before Putin addressed this media today, Russia's COVID death toll passed 600,000 mark, according to Reuters tally. And the country has struggled on how to deal with this situation. In last year, the country has also faced the largest crackdown on the free press and political dissidents since the Soviet era, with a growing number of opposition political figures and media outlets facing the foreign agent designations. And Russia's opposition leader, Alexei Navalny, has been imprisoned on what his supporters say are trumped up charges after being poisoned with a nerve agent for the second time as he rots in a Russian jail. So that's really the situation here we're dealing with. Putin is, again, doesn't want, he says, war with Ukraine, but urges the West to meet him and his demands quickly and now. So this is a very serious situation that we're dealing with here. But in these last days, the Bible talks about the battles of Gog and Magog, talks about the confrontations that will come. And I sometimes wonder if we're really watching close enough to see what is happening. I think sometimes we live in a bubble. we're in the TikTok world, or we're hanging out, on Facebook, and we're in our own little worlds, and we are not really paying attention to the geopolitical situations that are developing and how those relate to biblical prophecy. So we must stay awake, because, and look at what's going on in our own country. The rise of Bernie Sanders' socialism movement among the young people, which really he's the one that did that over the last couple of presidential cycles. And now with the support of AOC and some of the squad, we're hearing about these ridiculous Green New Deal agendas that are trying to be imposed upon the American psyche, and which would absolutely cost you more than an arm and a leg in taxation for such a theory, unproven theory that man is the major cause of global warming. That's an unproven theory. You talk about conspiracy theories, that one really is. Now, there is an admission that we do have a rise in temperatures of the ocean, and there is melting of the polar caps that is going on. But what is the cause? Is it man and his carbon footprint, or is it actually the inner core of the earth expanding, as the Bible said, hell will enlarge itself, and that without measure? And is that expanding because of the pressure that's building from the incoming binary system, or Planet X Nibiru, or Planet Number 9, or the Goblin, or the Dwarf Star, or whatever you want to call it, Planet 9, or whatever they want to call it now? And is that coming because it was sent by God for such a time as this to bring about, once to bring about the plagues of Egypt, this time to bring about the plagues and the pestilences and the apocalyptic events of the return of Jesus Christ, the birthing pains of the Savior? I think whenever we come right down to this, let's look at things in a more, I'm willing to have the debate. I'm willing to talk about it. I'm willing to get in there and rub elbows with anybody who wants to be reasonable to take a look at the real numbers, like how much carbon did the volcano that erupted at Hunga Unga on Tonga yesterday, when it sent ash and smoke and plumes and fumes 50,000 feet into the air, with poison gases and acids and ash and plumes and fumes and smoke and locusts and whatever else came out of that pit, and brimstone and fire and lava and magma and rumblings and tumblings and fumblings and jumblings and carumblings and all of this going on, guys. I mean, come on, think about it. And there's 50 different volcanoes that are erupting right now, dude. I mean, think about and when you run the numbers on how much that is throwing out compared to what the little exhaust fumes are releasing and the emissions and the smokestacks and a few things like that, yeah, there's no comparison. There's no actual comparison to what's taking place. So let's agree to disagree. If you can't agree on the reason that the planet is heating up, at least agree that it's heating up, and agree that the Bible said it would heat up and that the earth would melt with a fervent heat. Let's agree that Jesus said that heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word abideth forever. Let's agree that Christ came, died on the cross, rose from the grave, dangling the keys of hell and death, stood up on the Mount of Olives, and prepared himself for the return, his ascension into glory, and to proclaim to us that this same Jesus that you see going away in like manner shall return again. And let's accept the fact that we're in the last days. And now those days are here. Well, I'm excited about all these different things that are happening. And when I come back, I want to talk a little bit more about that. But right now, I got to take a break, get some more coffee, and have a song. Is that okay? Let's try to avoid Gog and Magog if we can.
Can you hear Jerusalem's cry? Can you see the storm on the rise? Look around, you can't deny this is the hour of heaven's time. Armies gathering in the east for the war that's soon to come. Death will march with the beast, so seek the light and walk with the sun. Soon you'll see his wrath come down and the Lord descending from the sky. When you hear the trumpet sound, God has answered Jerusalem's cry. Sun goes black and the moon blood red, and the stars fall from the sky. Word of God in the Bible says we're living in the end times. Soon we'll see his wrath come down and the Lord descending from the sky. When you hear the trumpet sound, God has answered Jerusalem's cry. God has answered Jerusalem's cry. Soon the dead in Christ shall rise and join him in the sky. Even unbelievers will see God has answered Jerusalem's cry. God has answered Jerusalem's cry.
Really has, and thank God he has, because I tell you, the Bible said that in these last days, when you see this, when you see the armies compassed around Jerusalem, know that the desolation thereof is nigh. And I think we have to admit that we're living in that time now where we can see that they're gathered around. They're absolutely gathered around. I would like to read from the Bible for you. Now, we could talk about Russia and the Battle of Gog and Magog and Psalms 83 war. We can talk about these things, and we have. But I think what I would like to do is read from the scriptures. I believe it's in Matthew. And give me 1 second, and I'll have it for you. Because these scriptures from the song we just heard are absolutely true. They are telling us that it won't be long, that these are the birthing pains of the soon coming of Jesus Christ, and that it means we need to understand that we don't have a lot of time left. Okay, you can look to the news. You'll see all kinds of different circumstances, situations. You'll see all kinds of different things talking about what's going to happen in the last days. But I think it's important to hear what Jesus said himself about it. And here's what he said. I'm going to start in Matthew 24, verse 35. Let's just jump to 35. Here's what it says. It says, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. For as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. In other words, they didn't know. They did not know when the flood was going to come, but it came and took them all. It's too late. So shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. Then shall two be in the field. One shall be taken, the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill. One shall be taken, the other left. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord doth come. But know this, that if the goodman of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be ye also ready, for in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man cometh. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, to whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing. Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all of his goods. But, and if the evil servant shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, that's terrible, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the Lord of the servant shall come in a day when he looketh not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites, and there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. This is the signs of the last days. And so when you hear Putin making some of his things, when he's saying, it's incredible to me that these are all part of the end time signs. I will be back in just a few minutes with some more information. There's more information breaking, so I'll be back in a few minutes with more right here on the coming apocalypse. Don't forget tonight, doubleheader, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, primetime live with L.A. Marzulli and Mike from around the world. Don't miss it. Are you serious?